Hi YouTube, I have an extra special workout for you guys today. This one is for all of my people who struggle with some level of back pain, low back pain, any sort of discomfort in your back. 40% of adults struggle with back pain. And as someone well into her 30s, that is definitely something I was not prepared for at this age, but it is my reality. I'm currently in physical therapy working on some back issues, and a lot of my homework that gets prescribed to me in physical therapy is actually Pilates moves. So it got me thinking that it's only right that I give you guys a free workout that you could do at home, really easy to follow along. I am not attempting to claim that I will cure your back pain in this workout, but the goal of this workout, and I can do more if you're interested, is to really help you build more deep core connection, abdominal strength, help you with really good form to support your back as you move through various different modalities and in your day-to-day life. So that's what we're doing today. This is meant to be a super quick, easy to follow along routine. It's not meant to be a workout per se. You may get a little sweaty, but it is something that's really going to help you mobilize your spine, help you really understand things to pay attention to when it comes to supporting your back and building abdominal strength. We're only going to use one prop and it is optional. I'm going to use a Pilates block, but if you don't have a Pilates block, you can do everything that we're going to do in this routine without it. So let's get started. As with all my routines, we're going to start with a nice intentional warm up. So meet me on your mat in a quadruped position, which means that your knees are right underneath your hips and your shoulders are right on top of your wrists. Let's begin by finding a dynamic child's pose. You can curl your toes under. I want you to send your hips back towards your heels. Find a brief stretch at the bottom, and then I want you to send your hips back forward. Now it's really important, and I'll remind you throughout today's routine, for you to begin to think about how you're engaging your core through everything that you do, especially if you have experiences with back pain. You can't really just go through movement without being mindful of your core. So I'll keep reminding you throughout the routine, starting now. So as we come forward, I want you to think about beginning to engage your abdominals and sending it back. For a little bit more engagement of your core, you can shift your hips lower, beginning to flex into your abdominals before you send it back. We're also going to start to sync our breath with our movement because that's another great way to really engage your core here. Let's do 4 more. Last 2. And 1. Let's find the bottom of our child's pose, and I want you to bring your left hand with your right hand all the way to the right side of your body. We're going to find a nice stretch from here. I want you to pull your hips towards the left while you feel that stretch, and then shift that weight back so that you put some weight into your right knee. I want you to pull your hips to the left, shifting weight to your left knee, and then I want you to bring it back. Exhaling through that stretch, inhaling as you bring it back. Give me 3 more here. Great job. And let's come back to center and let's walk our hands together to the left side. Same thing. So now my hands together are on my left side. I'm pulling my hips to the right side. I'm feeling that nice stretch. And we bring it back in. Try to get those heels or that seat towards your heels to deepen that stretch. Whatever feels good here. And because we all have different levels of pain, I want you to really honor your ouch, is what I like to say. So be mindful of how your body's feeling. If anything feels like it's pinching or too painful, I want you to take a breather and reassess. Maybe you can change your range of motion, or maybe you can just modify completely or take a rest in between. So really listen to your body. Let's come back to that quadruped. Let's find a few cat-cows from here. And again, I'll remind you about syncing your breath here and how we're gonna engage our abdominals. I want you to tuck your tailbone under, create a really deep rainbow shape through your spine, let your ears come towards your bicep, and then I want you to find a nice arch. Exhale, find that round. Inhale, reset with that arch. Especially trying to arch in your low back here, tucking your tail under like you have an imaginary tail that you're trying to tuck between your legs, and stretching back to your glutes as you flex through that low back. We have 3. Big exhale on these last 2. Last one. And bring it back to what's called your neutral spine. One of the most important spinal alignments. Everyone's neutral looks a little different, but it's where your spine feels most supported. I want you to deeply engage your abdominals by pulling your navel in and up, not sucking in, so not pulling all of the air out of your cavity, but think about flexing into your abdomen to pull that navel as close to your spine as you can while maintaining your breath. From here, I want you to keep a nice engaged core. You're gonna reach your left hand up. We're gonna find rotational work. I want you to bring your left shoulder down. Underneath, find that stretch, and let's go back up to the top. So a lot of what we're going to do today is to really mobilize our body in the right way so that we can begin to move on to some of that core work. But as we think about mobility and range of motion, try with each and every rep to get a little deeper. Like as I'm moving through this rotation, I'm thinking about the next rep, if I can reach my hand a little bit further forward to feel that stretch. If I can pull my seat a little bit closer towards my heel to get deeper into that stretch. Last one. And let's come back to center. Again, find that engagement. Belly's pulled up and away from your mat without sucking in. You're gonna reach your right hand up. Find that rotation down under. Exhale, dive down. Shoulder comes down. Last 3. Last 2. And 1. Bring your hands down. Next up, I want you to really focus on keeping your hips open. A big part of supporting our back as we train our core is making sure our hips are nice and mobilized. So I want you to find this zigzag shape with your legs, where your left shin is down, your right shin is going to be in the opposite direction. So they're kind of, it's like your foot and your knee are almost making a 90-degree angle. I want you to find that position here. We're gonna lean into a little stretch to our left, and then I want you to flip your knees and lean into that stretch with your right. Again, with rotational work, you may be able to get a little bit more of a rotation lower with this one versus that thread the needle. We're just switching side to side. As you twist gently to a comfortable position, trying to keep your back nice and flat. You can exhale as you twist and inhale as you come back to center. Happy hips are open hips. I've learned that the hard way for sure. My hip issues are hip issues were first and then came back issues, but my tight hips were likely what caused the back issue that came from running when I hadn't been training for a while. But you know, I'm in physical therapy. We're getting better, and hopefully you get better too with this routine. Let's do 2 more each side. You can use your hand to kind of guide you with that rotation. And only twisting when you have an engaged core so that your spine is nice and supported. And let's come back to center. Let's find some lateral stretching of our spine. I want you to bring your left fingertips out. Your left shin's in front, your right shin is on the opposite side, so you have that 90-degree shape from the ball of your foot to your kneecap and then to your ankle. You're gonna reach your right hand up. I want you to find a reach. Pause from the furthest point with that bend, and I want you to twist towards the floor. And then I want you to open yourself back up, come to center. Exhale, find that rotation. Inhale, reset. Give me 4 more. Again, thinking about that range of motion. Can you get a little deeper with that rotation, especially after we've done all of that prep rotational work? And let's switch our legs. Now we'll go to the other side. Switch your legs. We find our right fingertips down to our mat. We're gonna reach our left fingertips up. Find that big lateral bend in this direction. And then rotate towards the floor. Ooh, this is my bad side. Pay attention to how your body's feeling. Maybe you're tighter on one side versus the other. That's how a lot of us are because we have a dominant side. And again, find that gentle stretch. I don't want anything throughout the routine at all to feel painful. May feel a little sticky, but shouldn't feel like a pinching sensation. 2 more. And 1, lean it over, find that rotation. I want you to come to a kneeling position now. We're on our right knee. I want you to find a nice stretch through your right hip flexor, leaning yourself forward and bring yourself back. Finding that stretch again, thinking about everything that surrounds the support of our back, especially our low back, including these hips. So before we begin to move with a little bit more challenge in mind, I want you to feel really open in your hips and properly prepped, especially for any sort of back issues. You want to make sure you're putting in the work for your warm-up. Do not skip the warm-up. Do not skip the cool down. That's another thing that I've learned through physical therapy. 2 more. And we'll switch sides. Right foot comes forward. Feel that gentle stretch. Really make sure you're not arching in your back as you come forward. We're gonna work on something next called pelvic tilts, which is so crucial, especially again, if you're someone who has troubles with their back. We're gonna do that next, but before we get there, I want you to make sure that you're not creating any sort of arch, and I'll give you some foundational steps for how we're gonna manage that throughout the routine. Last one, and let's bring it in. The most important thing for you to learn in Pilates and really master, especially if you have any back issues, is what to do with your pelvis. There's a lot of movements where you want to make sure that you are not tilting your pelvis in a direction where it shouldn't be tilted, because that can contribute to additional pain in your low back. If you've ever taken a Pilates class, you're like, man, I felt it so much in my back. I barely felt it in my abs. It could be two things. One, you didn't have the abdominal strength to do the move that you were doing, so your back was compensating. Or two, you were tilting your pelvis with the movement when you should have been stabilizing your pelvis. So we're gonna work on what's called pelvic tilts, because when I say tuck your pelvis under, I want you to be able to reference what I mean by this. So we are going to take our hands to our hip bones here. I want you to rock your pelvis forward. I like to use an analogy. Imagine you have a bowl of water onto your hips and you're trying to pour that bowl forward. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tip our pelvis forward just a teeny bit, not too much. And then I want you to do the opposite. I want you to tuck and pour that imaginary bowl of water back to your belly. We'll do a few of those. Little release, not too much of an arch. You'll feel as you tip that pelvis forward, imagine you're releasing that water forward, you'll feel a little space created through your low back. And as you bring it back, you'll feel more of your back imprinted into the mat. To support your back, if you're someone who struggles with back issues, you're likely, for most moves, especially supine, going to want to make sure you have a little bit of that tuck to support you here and that you're engaging your core. So let's do a few more forward. Create a little bit of space. Bring it back. Forward, I want a little inhale. As you tilt it back, I want you to find an exhale. And you'll notice from moving my hips, it may be hard to translate on camera. It's not a huge movement. I don't want you creating a massive space behind your low back. I just want you to feel that little release of your low back, maybe popping off the mat. And then I want you to feel that deep imprinted spine. And somewhere in between those 2 points is your neutral, which we'll get to in a second. Last two. And one. Now, go all the way back to find imprinted, come forward, and then come in between, where you're really supporting the natural curvature of your spine. That is a point where I really want you to be able to move from throughout everything that we're doing today. So to hold this position, you're going to engage your abdominals. Like I was describing, it's almost like you're trying to pull your navel in towards your spine and up. You have a flex to your abdominals, and you want to stabilize your pelvis as much as you can. Hopefully you're feeling nice and limber and you have some good tips as we move through today's routine to keep in mind. You're gonna grab your yoga block if that's something that you're gonna use for the routine. I want you to place the yoga block underneath your left knee. You're gonna bring your hands down to the mat. Keep your right knee rested down just to start. To take an extra challenge, you're gonna make sure that your left toes aren't curled under and anchoring you down to the floor, if you can see here. So if you're gonna take a challenge, try to balance off of just your knee on that block. So make sure that your toes aren't touching the mat. So I'm going to find a point to my toes here. I'm going to bring my right knee down. We're gonna do some hip hikes here. So I want you to press hard into that yoga block. You're gonna lift your hip up, and then you're gonna lower yourself down. Lift and lower. Finding a little stretch through your low back as that knee comes down. Exhaling as you hike that hip up. Two more. Last one. You're gonna find that balance, that lift of that right knee off. Now, I want you to take that right knee, it's gonna come up to the sky. Pay attention to how the shape of my spine does not change at all. I'm not arching to compensate for that knee lifting. I'm not rounding forward. I'm keeping my back flat by using my abdominals and maintaining that engagement. And this is interesting. This is really a glute challenge, but I feel this a lot in my core. Because if you're doing it right, you're flexing into those muscles to help you move, and you're moving through that core support. The elevated height of the yoga block is great here, but you can also just do this down on the floor without the block. If you're ever in a place where you want to get some movement in and you don't have the proper prop, this is a great one. Take a quick break, sit your hips back. I want you to find that quadruped position again. We're gonna lift off to find that hover. Now we're gonna find a bird dog. So I want you to find your balance. Remember, try to not make those left toes connect. And I want you to bring that knee in and out. And now we're adding in that extension of our arm. Ooh, I really struggle with this one. Remember, you're keeping your core present in the moment. Three more. Two. Last one, I want you to hold it out. Find a nice point to your toes, reach. Don't let your ribs fall towards your mat. I want your left hand to go out and your right ankle to go out in opposite directions. Then I want you to exhale, bring it to center. Woo, this one has me shaky. Make sure you're not sinking or changing the shape of your spine. Give me 4. Last 3, 2, and 1. Ooh, take a second. I feel that one everywhere. I feel that one in my shoulders, I feel it in my core, and also in my glutes. And let's switch sides of our block. So now the block is gonna come underneath your right knee. Hands come down. Let's start with our hip hikes. Remember, if you can, take that challenge. Don't let your right toes touch your mat. You let your left knee lower, and then you hike to lift it up. Still using that flex of your core. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's so, so important. Most of us got in this predicament of our back because we weren't engaging our core. So I will be the broken record to remind you throughout this entire routine. If you're curious about what it really means to engage your core, I have some videos on my channel that gives a good breakdown. Last one. Let's find that hover and let's find our donkey. So remember, don't change the shape of your spine. Lift that knee up to alignment with your glutes. Lower that knee down. Make sure your weight is equally distributed through those hands. You're not favoring one side over the other. It's very tempting in this move to favor your right side, but try to keep your body nice and square and equally balanced. We have 2. We have 1. And let's sit that knee down and we sit our hips back. We're gonna find our bird dogs next. We reach our leg out, we reach our hand out. When you're ready, find that lift. Remember, no right toes touching your mat if you can. This is when it gets really sticky, really challenging. Find that reach. Bend that knee and elbow in. My favorite thing about Pilates is the way that it calls you out for being imbalanced, because typically one side, like for me, it's this side for sure, it's gonna feel so much harder than the other. But that's okay, that's why we do a lot of this unilateral movement to help balance us out. I am shaking like crazy. 2 more. If you feel like you're losing your form, like I feel like I am, take your little reset. Take your moment, and if you need to, those toes can come down. We give 2 good ones. And 1. Find your sturdy balance, long reach from your fingertips to your toes, you go out. You exhale, you bring it together. Out and in. 3. Last 2. It's clear which side is my strong side. Whoa! Last 1. And bring it in. Take a second. We're gonna make our way down to our back for more deep core work. If you have that yoga block, it's coming with you. You're gonna find your knees in tabletop, which just means that your knees are right on top of your hips. The closer your knees are in towards your chest, the easier this will be. The further your knees are away, the more challenging it will be. Pay attention to what the shape is below your low back. So remember those pelvic tilts? If it's too big of an arch, you probably need to pull your knees in a little bit closer. Find that neutral point that you can maintain. If you have your block, if not, you're gonna do this with just your hands. You're going to place the block long box ways onto your knees. What we're gonna do here is press with both hands into the block, 10 seconds, and we're gonna do it 3 times. We're gonna hold for 10 seconds, pushing into that block, and then we're gonna release for a little rest. This is really gonna help us fire up our deep core, bring some of that awareness as you fight against yourself here. So let's do it together. In 3, 2, 1. Press those knees in and press into your hands. 2 and 1. This one is tough to talk through, so you'll hear me silent for a second or two because it does leave you a little breathless if you're not really thinking about it. You have to do your nice inhale exhales. Obviously, I don't want you to hold your breath for 10 seconds, but be really intentional about how that trunk is feeling while you're doing this movement. Next one, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, press. Knees come back, hands come in, creating that tension. Great job. Release it down. I'll give you a challenge option for the last one. If you'd like, you can add in a little curl where you lift your head and chest up. You're gonna push into that block, push your knees back, same thing, but you're gonna add in a little bit more of a challenge with that lift of your chest. So if you're taking that challenge, find your lift in 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. And relax it down. You really felt that trunk fire up. And this is a move that you can do on a regular basis just to bring that awareness when you wake up in the morning, fire up that deep core before you go about your day, before you even think about lifting anything heavy over your head, like a suitcase, an overhead compartment, etc. So that's a good one. You could do it with just your hands. You don't need a prop for it. Let's go on to some bridging next, because it is super important to make sure that you're also training muscles around your back that are supporting your back from a standing position, and that includes your glutes. So we're gonna come down again to supine. Your ankles are gonna come right underneath your knees here. What I want you to do, we're gonna start with an articulated spine bridge, meaning you are gonna peel your tailbone off first, you're gonna tuck your pelvis, and you're gonna lift your hips up. So we're gonna find that articulation, that slow snake up of your spine and snake down of your spine. So your arms can go long by your side. Let's find that lift. Find the top of your bridge, and then lower yourself down. A common problem that I see with bridging is people are going too high with their hips. So the goal isn't the height of your hips here. The goal is finding a point where you feel like you still have that neutral spine. So you're not arching, you're not fully tucked, you have that neutral, you find that really big stretch to your hip flexors at the highest point, and then you slowly lower yourself down. A few more here, grounding yourself through your heels. Think about lifting out tailbone first, mid-back second, and then trying to get to those shoulder blades. It's not about the height. It's about how you're engaging your glutes, how you're stamping into those heels. We're gonna hold high on the next one and pause. Let's hold at the top together. Curl it up, holds. Trying to keep your hips as still as you can. I want you to raise your right foot off. Knee comes to tabletop, switch and left. Finding these marches here. Making sure your hips aren't swaying side to side. You're really grounding, really rooting through that opposite heel while that knee comes up. We have 4 on each side. Breathe through, exhale as you bring it up. Inhale as you bring it down. 2. And 1 on each side before we bring our tailbone down. Now, if you have that yoga block, we're gonna use it for a prop here for some single leg bridges. I want you to take that block. We're gonna find your full foot. Let's start with our right foot to your block. From here, arms still long by your side without articulation. So we're now gonna find a flat back. So instead of rolling your spine up, you're gonna go straight up with your hips. Start with your leg pointed. The higher your foot is with your ankle on top of your hip, the more challenging it will be. So if you need to, you can go for just a tabletop to modify. I'm gonna go for a straight leg to challenge myself. I'm gonna ground myself through that yoga block, get some nice height into this bridge, and then I'm gonna tap my tailbone down. Let's do 8 here together. If you're feeling anything in your back here, you should primarily feel it in your glute. Limit your range of motion. Find a smaller range of motion here. And 1, let's tap it down. We're gonna stay with that side, so stay with your yoga block. We're gonna add in a little variation. On this next one, we're gonna bridge ourselves up just like we did, except now we're gonna find our left foot as high as we can. If you're up for the challenge, you're gonna bend your left knee. I want you to try to get your left foot through the bend of your right. Exhale, bring it up. Give me 8 of these. Bend that left knee. Bring that foot underneath, behind the hamstring of your right side. Maybe that left hip lowers a little and bring it back to the sky. Breathing in one direction, letting that lower hip come down as close to the ground, finding that nice rotation through your hips here. I have 3 more. Last 2. Last 1. and bring it down. Take a second. You can hug that knee in if that glute needs some love, and we will move the yoga block if you're using it to the other side. Arms long by your side as your anchor. You have your left foot onto that yoga block. We're gonna bridge ourselves up. We find a reach of our right leg, tap our tailbone down. Exhale, press. Trying to keep our hips level, even though we have one in the air, one on our block. Making sure your feet are about hips width apart. If you need to bring that yoga block or your foot in a little bit closer, make sure your feet aren't too wide and that ankle shouldn't be far away from that knee. Last two. Last one. If you're ready for it, you're gonna go straight into that pause at the top. We're bending our right knee. We're bringing it through. My right hip is coming almost down towards the floor. You'll probably see my hips opening up towards the camera. We exhale, bring it back. Lower it down. Last three. We have two. And we have one. Before we lower everything down, you can release, shaking your knees side to side. And let's go to one last ab finisher before we get into our nice cool down. So what I want you to do is we're gonna do a variation of 100. Now, if you're experienced in Pilates, you're more than welcome to do different things with your legs. I'm gonna recommend for most folks, especially if you're experiencing that discomfort in your back, that you keep your feet planted for this. But the typical 100 form does include extended legs, so you can extend your legs if you'd like. Let's start with just a few ab curls. So what we're gonna do here is lift our shoulder blades off, reach our fingertips towards our heels, lower ourselves down. Brief pause at the top. When we get into our full 100, which I'm not gonna make you do an actual 100 in terms of 100 reps, but we are gonna hold it for a bit. So you will be holding it at the top. But right now, I just want you to find that lift of your upper chest, find that engagement of your abs as you lift yourself up. Let's find 5 more, seeing if you can get higher and higher with your shoulder blades each and every time. Last 2. On the next one, we're gonna hold with as much of a curl as we can, and we're gonna pump our arms, finding a nice vigorous pump. So it's gonna look something like this. So have blades to your hands, so your fingers are really close together. You're moving from your shoulders, try not to bob too much from your head. Let's bring it together. You can start maybe with your hands behind your head. To get the full effect, we curl ourselves up. Let's find our pumps. Halfway, can you lift a little higher? Maybe you can bring those knees to a tabletop with your feet off. Last 20. And relax it down. Awesome work today, guys. That wasn't designed to be my typical intense, challenging Pilates flow. It was all about getting back to the basics. And hopefully you got that through the amount of education and cueing that I was trying to give to you during this routine. I really want you to walk away with some helpful tips that you can translate to all sorts of movement that you do in your daily life or even in different workouts. This is something, save it, bookmark it, keep it handy. You could do this every single day to help you build deep core strength, to help you build endurance. You can increase the time. You can take some more of those challenges that I offered. So it's meant to help you really establish that core connection, help you build that strength that you need to hopefully alleviate some of the back pain that you've been experiencing. Thanks for joining, and I will catch you guys on the next one.